Hey, how are you, Naveen?
Super. I'm telling everybody he's a very lively person. He's sitting far away. I can't tell them where you are.
You can, you can. I'm in Alibag. I got away
Finally.
here. I got away here much before the lockdown started. So I'm thankful that I took that call before the lockdown, and I've been here now 2.5 months, and I'm enjoying it. I have more than four walls to look at.
That's what I'm saying. All of us facade guys in the market and all the glass people, all the aluminum people really want to become architects in our next birth because there's so much money there. They can have private houses in Alibag. Yeah. This is what happens, sir.
Uh, I only have a private house. You probably have a private palace
Secret within that low.
tucked away somewhere much beyond Alibag and beyond the seas, and you need to take a long flight to get there.
Hypothetically.
Let's not talk about that here on this. I think there are too many people watching this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what I'm going to say is that, Yatin, before we go ahead, I want to tell you one of the reasons I wore a red shirt today because I'm meeting a man who's full of life. You have more life than most people put together. And you're a happy man, you're a happy, doting father. And more importantly, you're a great architect, always creating a lot of lively things in your office full of color. And that's why we want to start with you today. And I want you to tell all of us a little bit about yourself. More importantly, how you came from a family where there were non-design professionals, where there was nobody, your parents were doctors, your brother became a doctor. You had this innovative skill of your pen and pencil. What I understand is you used to go for a lot of holidays with your parents. And from there, you went to Brazil, you went to Barcelona, you went to USA, you went to Oxford, you went all over the world and used to sketch. So said someone to me. Tell us something about all this and how you got into architecture.
So it looks like you've done a lot of research on me, Naveen.
Have to, have to. You see, you all architects are mystery
you
men, no?
you
All mystery men.
you you you've dug deep into yeah, but okay. So I was the black sheep of the family, like most younger siblings are, and so my parents and my brother are all doctors, so they come from the medical background. So I knew I could not do any of that. I see blood and I faint till today. So I
Super.
so I used to study. I used to be taken to a hospital to study. So I've had enough of my share of hospitals and the medical profession. And as a young child, I was always fascinated by structures and buildings and nature and all sorts of things, which I used to sketch on my own. And I really started getting fascinated over the travels that I did over time with architecture. It started off with art, architecture, and the history of architecture. So historical buildings still today are very dear to me, both to me as well as the entire family. So whenever we go traveling, we have to have at least couple of days dedicated to visit museums and older buildings and all of that. So that was always my passion, and that led to me obviously then after the 11th and 12th standard, we were all naughty boys, and we said we now have
Tell
to
me another
choose.
one.
That or not on this one. We'll do that separately. but yeah, we had to choose a profession then. So yeah, so I finally said that okay, so medicine is out, and back then it was either you do medicine, engineering, or you do some commerce activities. So we were never in the commerce business. And unlike you guys, people have made money. I wish I had got into that profession back then, but then so be it. So in engineering, then we said, okay, not heavy engineering. That's not my cup of tea. And then it came along, okay, by virtue of elimination, then came down to architecture. And that's how it all started. And I went then to Manipal for 5 years, did the course there. Uh, it was a
Fantastic.
fantastic. It was a fantastic school, even then. Uh, back then, architecture schools, the ones in Mumbai had JJ and Academy, and all of these had much larger studios every year. So they had students of batches of 50 and 60 or 100. Whereas in Manipal, our batch was all of 20 people. So we had very personalized attention even back then. And that was great. I think, and the fact of just going out and being independent away from, parents. And that was my first stint at a boarding school. So that was a great learning on its own as well. So it developed us or everyone in the batch as individuals as well as then to become professionals.
But I also know from somebody else that the building where you were brought up before you have this great house and fancy palace that we all have, all architects, all facade guys, we have more money than everybody put together. We can say that on the show because we work very hard and we put lots of hard work. And like I always tell everybody that it takes 10 minutes for us to sketch today. It has taken us 10 years of experience to do that sketch. And still you say you don't want to pay us fees because we took only 10 minutes to do that job. But coming back to that, you were staying in
True.
Noshir Talati's building, if I'm right. And I think that was what got you
Yeah.
inspired over the years. And there's no looking back. So can you tell all the viewers of that inspiration time of your life? How somebody who was an architect and you are not an architect and you used to meet him in the elevator and that gave you the kickoff of saying, I want to be an architect. I can't say more than that. It's say bigger than you and bigger than Norman Foster. So we go ahead on that.
Sure. And yeah, and like I said, you've done a lot of research. I don't know who you've been speaking to,
No,
but
don't worry. I
that's
get
a
paid
good
for every
piece of
1 hour I'm
information.
sitting here. So I jolly well work for it. I have good sponsors. The Zach Group of Façades is a rich company. So let's go ahead. I do my work.
Yeah, you're right. So I lived in a building, and I still do live there, which had the famous architect Noshir Talati residing in that building at that point of time. And as kids, when we were playing and growing up in that building, we used to see all of these fancy cars come in that Noshir had. You saw Alfa Romeos and, all of the fancy cars, which really enthralled us as children. So he said, we always had the thought, hey, I want to be like him, whatever he does, he's doing a good job, and it'll be cool to be somebody like him. And that profession is really, really good. And then I followed him through over time, and yeah, it was good. And he really is an inspiration and an institution on his own, actually.
Super. Coming back to it, from what I know, that one of your major influences in your story from where you were to where you came, you went once to Switzerland with your parents and you saw the Corbusiers work there. And you also saw Frank Lloyd Wright's work in the Falling Water project of USA that influenced you. Can you from there come down memory lane to 1989 and tell us a little about your early projects, how all this influenced your life, and how DSP was then established with you, with Mehul, and with Bimal? And how did you all coin that great name DSP, though it's your surname? And, one always thinks of DSP as DSP Finance, and then was DP Architects, and then suddenly it was DSP Design Associates. And that's a name to reckon with.
Yeah. Well, there's some interesting stories on how we coined the name as well. And I'll come to that a little later, but to take you through how I started, and of course, like I said, through travel, I was always fascinated with structures and buildings. But when I got out of college, I really said, let's do an internship and let's understand what architecture is all about and what the professional practice is all about. So I worked for a year, and then I was again where I was brought up in the same building as Naushir Talati. We had another famous celebrity, Sunil Shetty.
Oh,
So we grew up together, and he had already started off with some retail outlets, and he was always the entrepreneur right back then as well. So he tells me, uh, Yatin, why do you want to work for somebody? You should start on your own, and I'll give you enough work to do. So you might as well quit. And a year later, after my getting out of college, like a young budding architect, I thought I knew it all and said, hey, I'm an architect.
all of us are like that. All of us are like that. When we get out, we want the moon, we want the sun, we want the stars. And then we know we're going to start walking all over again.
So in a year, I said, hey, I know architecture. I can do it on my own. I don't need anybody's help. I'm going to start off on my own. And I had that little nudge that came in and said, here's your first few projects. And we started off. So I started off in a small little 3 feet by 3 feet table. And,
Nice.
Sunil gave me a few of his projects. We started off with a boutique that he had owned, and then a restaurant, and then a hotel, and then a few more boutiques. And then word got around, and he put me on to quite a few people. I'm very thankful of that. And then somewhere down the line came through word of mouth, and then I came across a project for the Reliance Industries. And that was our first corporate project that we did. And that it took me about 3 or 4 years to get there. And it was all of 5,000 square feet. And 5,000 square feet was this huge office for us, and we said, wow, it's a big project. So we started off with that, and then we did a lot of work from there on in the corporate real estate side. So all interiors though. At that time, nobody as a young architect would, deploy such a kid to say, I'm going to build a 1973 kind of structure, So we started off humbly with doing corporate interiors. And the Y2K problem, if you recollect,
Yes.
that really gave us the big fillip in our profession, because that really took us as an organization through to different locations in the country. We started off doing our first IT project, and the first one is always the tough one. Clients would always say, have you done an IT office? I mean, I used to say, what the hell? What's the difference between doing an office for a tech company from a financial company, So we got our first break. And
I have a photograph. Can I put that up? And then you tell me the story. I have a photograph. Collected a few photographs. Now you're going to get surprised at the end what I've got from there. So give me a second. Give me a second. You have to see this picture. I will only start with the IT project first, but I've got a couple of them. And if you're referring to this.
Oh, okay. So that was our first large customer from the IT sector, though we did interiors first. But this is what took us to Bangalore.
One of the best facades in the country. By
So
another case study, not this case study, but one of the best facades in the country. You have to admit to that, sir.
It is one of my favorite projects. Till today, it is one of my favorite projects. In fact, very recently, I went on to Facebook, and somebody pointed out to me, just go on to the Facebook page of Bangalore, and this shows up as their homepage. So it was really kind of fulfilling for us to see, the whole city is coined by this. And I'll tell you a very interesting one on this particular project. And I'm sure you and your brother have had several discussions of this during that time and after that
during the time,
probably even now. During and after that time, I'm sure.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah, so like I said, I've had really fond memories of this project. The whole brief that the client gave us was a one-liner. one single line. We were walking on the site, and if you see the lake there in the
Yep.
foreground, it was a barren land, just a piece of land and nothing there. Today, if you go there, it's a huge IT campus there now. But this was the first one to come up there, and we were walking on the site, and the MD of the company tells me, Yatin, uh, what comes to mind when you go to Agra? That's what I want here. I said, wow, okay. So you want a Taj Mahal here,
The
and
brief.
you want
That's a one-line brief.
that's the brief. And he said, like, if anyone has to come to Bangalore, they must visit this building. And then and then we went around doing all of this, and then to see this come on Facebook was proof of concept that we really did a good job. So that lake in the foreground, when we were walking around that lake during that site visit, we saw a lot of people taking photographs uh, of a couples and young people like you and me, but with better halves, with taking photographs of themselves with the lake in the background. But after we completed the project, I was walking down once, and we saw again the similar couples walking around, but with the building in the background, and from the lake side they were taking pictures. So again, extremely fulfilling for us.
You don't know what is the real fulfilling story. I was on that site once, and I was with another architect, and we were discussing the tension rod system. It was there. And we were talking about it externally. I don't want to name the architect. He's from Bangalore, he's very big, and due respect to him. He's very senior. And he said, who is the king of architecture? And guess what I told him? If that picture makes any sense to you, it'll say a lot to you. That is the king. Now, how I get your picture, you don't ask me, my friend. But that is the king.
Man, that's
right?
Yeah.
And then he also said he must be somebody, and I'm serious. He said he must be somebody who must be understanding worldwide architecture. And I said, sure, he knows how to carry the world. That's another picture of yours, where you stood back and you said you're holding everybody. And we were all talking together. And I think life moves on when you talk to others. And, things are different. And I said he works hard. He holidays hard. He parties
How
hard.
the hell have you got all of these?
It happens. We connected. We know when we want to do something, we do everything. It takes slowly. I think each show of the Zach World of Façades on the Insta show gets a little better. It gives us little experience how to get pictures, my friend.
That was a trip we did at the Northern Lights. And incidentally, we had a board meeting there. We had the 3 founder partners there in the Northern Lights, in that same space there. It was a nice, cute little holiday place in the middle of nowhere. And it was completely snowed out. Of course, we had gone to see the Northern Lights, so it was snowed out, and we got sightings of the Northern Lights. But our board meeting was in an outdoor tub, on an outdoor steam bath in the jacuzzi.
Having said that, 3 of you never look like board members. 3 of you always dressed like dashing young men put together. I'm sorry, the 3rd photograph gets cut off because of Insta. But all 3 of you are as dashing as ever. And I think all 3 of you could do a better modeling for Raymond or, for Reed and Taylor than for anybody else, my friend. So tell me the story of 3 of you.
We have better brands than just all of these. But yeah, so the 3 of us, we all studied in Manipal together. We were all in the same school. Mehul, the one that you see in the center with the good old beard, that's when he had the beard. So he changes his appearance every now and then. So that's the beard appearance. So he was my roommate for 4 years in college, and Bimal was my junior. He was about 3 years junior to us. And when I started the firm, I was alone when I started. And Mehul joined me, I think, 3 years after I started. And Bimal came on four years later, and then started working with us, and then we all got together and said, let's. Yeah, we used to be called Yatin Patel and Associates then when
Correct.
we did the project. But then when we started growing and growing, we said, let's give due recognition to everyone. And then we coined ourselves as DSP. And
Right.
DSP is actually stands for the initials of the three directors of
Desai.
the Desai, Shah, Patel.
Patel.
Uh, so it's in no particular order that we formed the name, and it was interesting how we got to that name. We said, what sort of combination should we have? Should we do PSD, PDS? And none of the names resonated with us, and he said, colloquially, this doesn't sound right. And then back then as kids, we were still looking at DSP, Merrill Lynch, and BlackRock, and all of those financial firms, and of course the DSP whiskey, which we were all consuming. So that then became like a very colloquial name to have, and then that's how we coined ourselves as DSP Design.
Let me come back to you. When DSP proudly today is a global Indian firm, okay? And can you let us know something about your recent partnership expansion plan? From what I understand, you've got now 5 offices all over India, and you have them in Gurgaon, Pune, Ahmedabad, all over. You have an office in Singapore, and you're almost everywhere. And what is the creation of this whole magic, with everything happening repeatedly? What is this story?
So, like I said, the IT business took us to the different locations of offices that we have in the country. So we started off with Mumbai, and then we went to Bangalore during the boom or during the Y2K period. And then we set up the Pune office because that again started becoming more technologically advanced. A lot of companies started coming into that area. And then came Gurgaon, and then the last one in India was Hyderabad.
And then Singapore.
And then Singapore is pretty recent. It's just about 2 years back. But during the entire duration of 3 decades that I've been at it, every 3 years, we've added on either a location or as in a new geography or a new vertical or a service that we've added on. So be it residential architecture or corporate interiors, corporate architecture, hospitality or retail or any of that. And very recently, during the last 2 years now, we've had this great impetus that we've got wherein we are now globally enabled through the partnership called One Global Design, which is the coming together of 20 different architectural firms, which now enables us to access a resource pool of 1,550 people across 6 different countries and located in 31 different cities of the world. So we are able to do projects there by even saying we have boots on ground in that location. So it's an amazing partnership that we have going there. And then we also have partnered with IB. IB is in a company called Intelligent Buildings. So we offer now smart building consultation and advisory in smart building technology. So it's a unique.
Coming back to what you're saying, and you said some few minutes back, and when you see this little later, you know what you said, because you said about the competition. There are so many of you in the whole place, and now only the 3 of you, and there are so many architectural firms, and you're there. In the facade industry, we are only 5 of us. You said you keep on adding verticals. I think we are 5 of us. We have 5 big companies. And out of the 5, every year we lose 1, or every second year we lose 1. 4 of us are like rotating. So just ensure that even though you add so many verticals, don't add more than those 4 fabricators in your list of vendors, sir. Okay, coming back to that, you've got so many awards. When I say DSP has been awarded, has been right now running, you jumped up 14 spaces, if I'm right, or 15 spaces. You came 55th among the top 100 in the world on the WA100, and you came 36th among the top 100 designers. It's there on the Google. And more importantly, what is important to know is how did you achieve that? How do all three of you achieve that ease of working? And how do you achieve that, the getting to the top, getting awards, and still all of you are as humble as ever and accessible? And pick up the phone on the first ring. That's the best part.
So I think the upbringing and the culture plays an important part there on being humble, accessible, and all of that. But I think it's more hard work and dedication and perseverance that is lent to all of this. And the three of us have got a really good rapport amongst each other. There have been other partnerships that have, through time, separated and stuff like that. I've had questions over time, and people who've seen me over time say, "Are those guys still with you?" I said, "Yeah, of course, they're still with me." I've known these guys even before I was married. My wife complains sometimes, "What the hell is going on?" So we've known each other longer than all of our spouses. So we share a very good rapport and equation. We know what to expect or what not to expect rather from each other, and we've divided our functions accordingly within the firm to be able to really drive the whole process of operating it as a large business and also do architecture.
No, my question to you is, I've somewhere lost the question, but my question to you is, what gets you there to get all these awards? What is that shining element in your office that gets you to get these awards one after the other? I'm not taking names of architectural firms. It's not fair. I've met you with architects at the Otters Club, here, there, everywhere. No one talking about. But there is that element where you keep rising year after year and you get awards. So then I'm going to come back to a little different story with you. This is something, you do spectacular work. I understand. You're energized as a team. You're a super team. You have a modern architectural office. You're one of the best in the class. I mean, it comes from my heart when I'm telling you that. You're always part of the top 100 giants, from Yatin Patel Associates, 1989 to where you are today and where the team is today. What gets you all that? What gets you those awards? Can you share that with the viewers more as a sense of inspiration?
So I guess, like you said, all of the above, hard work, dedication, super team, super combination of people, culmination of all ideas. And the most important part is we're extremely open. We're transparent. So a good idea can come in from even an intern. So we collaborate, we internalize all our thoughts. And when we're coming up with a design, we would sit together as a team and say, okay, it could have an intern, it could have a 20-year-old experience architecture, and the team is a mixed culture as well. So as design idea can come from anywhere, and the most important thing for us is that we're extremely open to listen to everybody. Everybody's voice is heard. If the idea is good, we will take it. We will all run and work towards it. So I think that's been very important for us in the way we do work.
I have a case study on one of your projects. Now, again, you don't ask me how I got it, whether you have an NDA or you don't have an NDA. I don't want you to know that. I want you to know I'm also paid well by the exact group of Façades. So let's say what you can say on this here.
Okay. So this is there's again another interesting project that we did. There's a concept that we formulated. This was a high-rise building where the facade, and this would have been very interesting for you, more so your brother, because the location is Bangalore.
But that doesn't mean I'm not pan-India and the rest of India is not pan-India again, my friend. Unless you want me to shift base there, or you want me to tell everybody in Bangalore to give jobs only to Bangalore architects.
We're Bangalore based as well.
Okay, sir, I'm opening an office. Thank you very much. God bless you. Go ahead.
Right.
I'm not interrupting the show.
So this project was pretty interesting in what we did, in the sense that we kind of biomimicked a leaf, the structure of a leaf. And if you see that image there, That's yeah. So that really picked up the whole essence of a leaf and the way the structure was developed of the leaf. That we put onto the facade of the building, and kind of mimicked that whole story of the leaf. And hey, great, you've got all of this. So,
Two more coming.
so, those are actually shading devices that we created within that whole structure, and they were like bird beak shapes. Wow. So they were like bird beak shapes. So what that entire grid did, that grid, that diagrid formed the actual structure of the building. And we had a column free floor plate with just the central core that had all the vertical transportation and risers, and the diagrid formed the entire skin. What it did is it became the structure of the building. Also, it held up the glazing to reduce on the cost of the glazing. uh,
Now it's looking something.
yeah,
Now it makes sense to everybody.
So it reduced the cost of glazing as well. So the load of the entire glazing did not go all the way down. It was taken up by the entire facade, the diagrid on that. Yeah, that's how it looks. And these were twisted buildings that were self-shading as well. So pretty interesting. And these were shortlisted and finalists at the World Architecture Festival in Berlin. I think it was a couple of years back.
Sure. I mean, thank you so much. But now I must go back to a very special uh, question which I have for you. I'll get these pictures off from here, and I will, actually leave it. I'll just leave them on for one picture before I come on. We all know that you've been quarantined, and running away from here, which you have run away, and you safeguarded yourself from COVID. You're lucky, and you've been working and on Zoom, and you've been doing all the work. And you in your Alibag property, would you like to just, tell us how you're spending your time and how much you're missing your lovely family?
Wow.
And who are these two lovely young women, and who's the lady in black?
Well, the two lovely young ladies are Ria and Reha, who are architects as well. And the lady at the back is my wife, who is with me here in Alibag. That photograph is when we were in New York last year. We have, like I said, we travel as a family. They're working there in New York. So we took this time out to do a cooking session,
Right.
which the whole family likes, and it's like a family bonding thing. When they come to India, we have this whole one day which is planned just to get into the kitchen and cook something up, and just have fun together. But yeah, that's great. And here in Alibag, uh, the first few days were tough because I was just lounging in scrumpy clothes and not really being able to work from home. And then my daughter was already working from home in New York, and then I picked up a few cues from her actually.
I
And
know
she,
that.
uh,
She's the one who gave me lots of pictures. I'm going to
I'm
come back
sure,
to that.
I'm sure. Uh, so kind of she says, if you get up in the morning, you force yourself to work, get into the mode of working. Why don't you create yourself a space in the house where you can work out of, and then be prepared that you get to your desk 15 minutes before you want to start work, so that you attune your mind to your work, and let it sink in, because you're used to traveling 15 minutes to your workplace, and then you're already setting the tone in your head what you want to do. And that's really helped me. So I'm still wearing a t-shirt, but still slightly collared t-shirt, but other than that I would have been in I would have had scrumpy clothes on and just be lounging around. But yeah, this really helps. And yeah, they've been instrumental in giving me a few tips here and there.
Fantastic. Having said that, and I have to get you off the line soon because both your daughters are in New York, and both of them have put a special request to me saying we want to get on the line and they want to speak about you to the viewers. And since it's an Insta show, we're going to end with you in the next 4 5 minutes, maybe 6 minutes, and then we will get your daughter to come on the line, both of them, and talk about you and talk about them and talk about their life. So if you give me your permission, only then I will get them on the line, because they
Sure,
may give out
absolutely.
secrets that you may not like, my friend.
I'm sure you've already established the connect with them. So in getting some of these pictures. So yeah, I think you have better control over that, and you don't need my permission. I don't think you asked me before you got these pictures.
You see, marketing men know where we got to water the seed. We have to look at the next job and the next kid. I'm a mentor to my kids. So I jolly will start working for them right now, my friend. Okay, sir.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay.
No.
I want to, before I end with you, I'd like to say that recognizing the need in the primary condition for design is the principle, what I feel, of every good architect and an architectural firm. And architecture, like I've always said, is a learned game. And we all know, we say God is in the details. And I would say the magic is in your hand with all that you've done. I don't think you can teach architecture to anybody. When I say that, it's a quote. Zaha Hadid said that I don't think you can teach architecture to anybody. You can only sit down and you can inspire people to do it.
Absolutely.
So what you've done today is you inspired the facade world with that picture, with that photograph. And I can tell you so much. There's so much money in that facade, whoever gets that contract, that it's enough for me to open an office, buy a penthouse in Bangalore, and still go up and down with the amount of money in the facade industry. So I want to tell all the viewers that there's a lot more to learn in facades. And I'm going to take you on a rapid fire 3-minute questions, 3 minutes, which I want to talk to you. And it has to be absolutely rapid fire. And we want to just talk to you in a very candid way, which is what we call, it's conceived by Ahad, who you know very well. And his dad, Zakir Bhai, supports him in all that he does. If only you and me supported our young next of kin as much as Zakir pampers his Ahad, it'll be a different world. But
Naveen, you got it all wrong. Penthouses in Bangalore are pretty cheap.
I'm not saying anything. Okay, we'll buy the building together.
And with the COVID situation, travel is going to be a little
different story.
Story. Yeah.
Right,
I'm sure the clients will accept work from home. You can sit in your penthouse in Mumbai and still.
Okay, sir. Quick rapid fire question, very, very fast. For a man like you, it's a very different set of questions. Okay. In order of preference, the Eiffel Tower, the Pantheon, the Colosseum, the Sagrada Familia, where you went in Barcelona, you must have gone there because that's what it said, or the Burj Al Arab in Dubai, or my favorite building, the Burj Khalifa. Finally, the Opus by Zaha Hadid. In order of preference, Eiffel Tower, Pantheon, Colosseum, Sagrada Familia, Burj Al Arab, Burj Khalifa, and Opus.
So the Burjs will come last.
I don't love you anymore. Thanks.
So Zaha's building would come first.
Opus. Okay.
Yeah, Sagrada Familia would come second. I lost the others in between. Eiffel Tower would be like just ahead of the Burjs.
Okay. And the Pantheon and the Colosseum?
They're classics. You can't put them
different class.
They're not in this league.
They're not in this league,
yeah,
but they're all amazing facades. They're all amazing facades.
They're amazing structures. They're amazing structures. Amazing
structural facades. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Next question, sir. Norman Foster or Frank Gehry?
Depends how you want to look at it.
I'm telling you why. I want to
Norman Foster.
Norman Foster or Frank Gehry?
Norman Foster.
All right. Now I know why one of the richest architects. The Google says Norman Foster is the richest architect in the world.
Yep.
The Google also says Frank Gehry is the most famous architect in the world. So, sir, you went for Norman Foster. I'm not saying more to you. Omkar 73 or iFlex stroke Oracle?
Oh shit.
Omkar
iFlex,
73 or iFlex Oracle?
iFlex Oracle.
All right, sir. Next question. In order of preference again.
And
As an
I know
architect.
why you're asking me this question. And I
I
know
have
why
to.
you're
I'm not going further on that.
now just for the viewers, Omkar 1973 is done by Naveen Keswani and iFlex is done by his brother Pankaj Keswani.
Absolutely.
And
So you
and
have to
and
favor
Naveen
him because he's the
Keswani,
younger one. No, I'm letting you
Na-
go now.
Naveen Keswani tried desperately hard to get the iFlex project, which he did not.
Right. A Bombay-based company. Next question, sir. Order of preference. Frank Gehry, I Am Pie, Zaha Hadid, or Tom Wright? Frank Gehry, I Am Pie, Zaha Hadid, Tom Wright.
Zahadid, Frank Gehry, I Am Pie, and Tom.
You said it again correct because Zaha Hadid is again Opus and so is Burj and Burj Khalifa. So you know where you came from. Next question, sir. DSP Interior or DSP Architects?
DSP Global.
I love you, sir. Hey, great answer. Next one is a little one tricky. Bimal or Mehul?
DSP.
Okay, so it's always the Patel has to be there. Yeah? The Patel Mania has to be there. Otherwise it won't work. Okay. Weekend Alibag, wife and the kids, or back to 48, 72 hour office submissions?
Weekend
At this
Alibag.
stage.
Weekend Alibag.
Fantastic. Last question, sir.
Weekend Alibag with wife and kids and with the 40-hour work.
Fantastic. Last question, sir, before I turn on to your daughters. Ria or Ria?
No
Both of them are
preference
coming
there.
online, sir. Ria or Ria?
The Patel daughters. The
I
Patel
love you,
architects.
sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for being part of us. Thank you for being with us. I'm going to turn on commenting now on this particular screen so that your daughters, can request to join the video. You've been a nice man. You've spoken well. You've spoken from the heart. You have your zest for life. You have lived your life as far as we are concerned. You have a lot more to go, sir, and we'll take you from there. Thank you for being part of us. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Naveen. Thank you very much.
Ria, Ria will both come on the line any moment and we will take them on. We're just waiting for them to come on. And we will now just send, there's a request from somebody. It says, no, it's going to come in soon. Okay, we'll just take you on. 1 minute. Ria Patel. Ladies and gentlemen and viewers, please hang on and we'll soon have a lovely young woman and two lovely little women already on the site. You are both from New York, talking to us from New York right now. Tell me that first.
Yes. Yeah, we're both in New York.
Well, you're talking to a very big audience sitting back in India. We've just had your flamboyant, loving father who was here, and thank you for sending me all those pictures. And, it was very nice of you. And both of you put a request to come on the line, so we're very happy. And it's very important for all the viewers to know that both of you are architects and both of you are studying architecture. And one of you is with PCF. And, both of you tell us individually what influenced you to take up architecture.
So I'm Reha and that's Ria. So for me, I think it was definitely the atmosphere that we grew up in that really shaped that decision, because both mom and dad, they're both very creative individuals. So growing up, they always made sure we had a really critical eye for details. Like, may it just be like a piece of furniture or like a wallpaper or like the facade of a building. So notably, it was even on our travels abroad, like dad always made sure whether we were in like Turkey looking at the Hagia Sophia or like Berlin, the Reichstag, he always made us like just stop and soak in like where we were and really just admire these like marvels. And so I think also it was just the fact that architecture is like such a powerful tool in just shaping like the everyday life of a city in like multitude of scales, like just from like a small interaction of how people experience the space, or just how it can even like have such a positive impact on the environment sustainably also. I think that's very important for me.
You know, you've been there, you've been in New York. Where are you working right now? Can you tell the viewers what are you doing?
So I actually a week ago just got done with my thesis. So I just completed my 5 years at Pratt Institute. So I'm just graduating. So I am in the process of looking for a job in New York specifically. So I just graduated. And I've been working at Paycop. That's
One
a
sec,
picture of
let's go
my
back to, is that your picture? Is that your picture?
That's actually from Ria's graduation. That was 2 years ago. So she also graduated from Pratt. So this was at her graduation. Unfortunately, I didn't get to have a graduation considering like COVID, but that was at hers, yeah.
Your dad's secretary gave me that picture. That's what happens
Yeah.
when your dad is sitting somewhere else. Okay, tell me one thing. When you're part of PCF and you work in your foundation years in the practice that you've got or where you work now, do you see any challenges or any important considerations you've noticed while working globally, working on the other side of the world?
So I that's one of the things that I'm really proud of PCF about, and being a part of PCF is based in New York. I've had the opportunity to work on a number of international large-scale projects. For instance, I was working on a project in Mumbai, the Lodha Commercial Tower that's coming up in Lower Parel. Yeah, that's the one. And I've been working on a project in Jerusalem for some time now. And what I find interesting is it's not just regional climatic conditions that we tend to respond to, especially with the facade systems, but it's also the way space is used and interpreted across these geographies can vary quite dramatically. So in Israel, I was working on a project where the local building code requires us to have bomb shelters in a 40-story tower that we were designing. So structurally, that posed a lot of challenges, and it was quite interesting how the residents, because it was a residential tower, would use that space. They use it as an office or sometimes even a spare bedroom, although the window sizes were very constrained, and especially in a city like Jerusalem where there were very strict restrictions because it's a historic city where we had to have a stone to glass ratio, so a lot of stone was required. So yeah, I've loved working at Paycop Fried, and I hope to work on many more international projects.
So how was it working with somebody like Joe Berman?
Jay Berman, he's an incredible mentor. And as you know, he's been with Lotha now. So yeah, he's been a very inspirational designer to work under.
So you feel coming back to India is going to be good, and you're going to come back, or you're going to stay there, and you're going to shape up this country differently and look at it in a very different, dynamic, evolving, interesting way? Or are you going to come back and say, India, I am not coming back?
No, I've enjoyed working on projects in Mumbai, and right now I'm working on a mixed-use campus in Bangalore. So I hope to shape more of the future of our country. Yeah.
And what about
That's
you,
always
Ria?
been my
Will you
dream.
come back? Ria, are you keen to come back?
Eventually down the line, of course I'm considering that, but I do want to get a good amount of experience before I do come back, so I can bring back all of that I've learned back to India. Yeah.
But you know the fees in India are called the architects get shrinking fees. Every year the fees go down. They work harder. There's too much of competition. The best architects have to keep on reducing their fees for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I must say this to all the viewers, but it's a very challenging situation to come back to India and work.
It is,
you
but I
very
think
keen? Are you ready for the fight? Are you ready to do that creative work without money?
I think there are so many potentials and opportunities that we can bring forth. Like there's so much that we're learning every day, and we're seeing so many advances in the industry out here that I feel like would be so beneficial to bring back. So I think the opportunities in India are endless, and we have so much opportunity of change that we can bring forth.
You know, since you both are there and both of you are in another world altogether, can you tell the viewers something about the Façades in New York and something what you can talk about and what impresses you about the Façades? This is Unmasking the Façade, but that's about your dad. And we'll come back to talking about him after another 3 minutes. But I give you 3 to 4 minutes to talk about the Façades in New York. And what can you tell us? What do you think is lacking in India? And what do you think should happen to India post-COVID?
I think for me, what really strikes me is how they really adapt to the sites specifically. So they play a very important role in sustainability because they create these permutations based on orientation, and they play a heavy importance on which cardinal facing direction it is on, and they try to come up with many innovative solutions for adapting the facade to respond to climatic conditions, especially with like north and south facing facades to like trap in like winter sun and the east and west for like shading devices. So I think they pay a lot of attention to how it can help reduce like the impact on like refrigerants and like relying on your HVAC system, so that it can help reduce the amount of energy.
Yeah. I'm impressed, you know so much.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
I mean, I think
it's
both
such
of
an
us have been.
It's so nice talking to both of you. But can one of you tell me, since you already spoke about the HVAC systems, do you know something about the BMS systems and about the automatic louver shading systems? Do you think they'll work in India?
You can take that.
I'm talking about the louver blades. Do you think the louver blades, which move on the basis of the photovoltaic cells and the sunlight, and they create energy, do you think that kind of facade is now ready for India?
Why not? I feel like we should leverage the the capabilities of technology in facade systems and try to. I mean, both of us are very interested in the performative aspect of buildings and tracking changes and responding to the environment. And you need to start testing. Unless we test things, we're not gonna ever have them as a norm. So it definitely is important. Mm-hmm.
You both seem together like two volatile young ladies, very charming, very good looking, very knowledgeable. And I think you have the DNA of your father. Now tell me something about him. Both of you tell me something quickly about him. What works him up and what irritates him most?
What irritates him? Well, he loves
his show at the end of the day.
He loves food. So anything about food, and you give him any food or you let him prepare food, and anything to do with food would be great.
So you both think you'll be able to work with him when you come back? You think it's going to be easy working with him because he's such a disciplinarian and to the dot, he's a planner to the T. Am I right?
Yeah, I think he'll try to really challenge us because he would want to bring all of the potential that we have out. So I think he would really try to like challenge us like every day. But I think he is open to ideas, so it would be a challenge. But I think I mean that in like the best way possible. Like he would want us to really like put all of our capabilities out there because he really supports us, and he's like always been there throughout like our 5 years in college. He's like always been like one call away. We would call him up and like ask him, oh, what do we do now? Like, what do you think about this? Does this make sense? Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you both something, and then I'm going to come to the end of it in the last 2 minutes. I'm going to give you not parental advice. I'm going to give you friendly advice. I'm going to give you the advice that two young entrepreneurs, I would say enterprising entrepreneurs, who your dad calls archipreneurs in his dictionary, he always calls an architect an archipreneur. And you need to go and talk to him. You'll again wonder how I got to know that about him. But that's another story. That when you get back to work and when you come back to India, if you do come back to India, we welcome you, wait for you. Please address him as sir. No clouded emotions at work. I say that with experience. I have 2 young men at work, 2 young Turks, 2 young sons. and I'm a very strong discipline, and everybody knows that. But I'm telling you this, and you're very young, you're very good looking, you're very charming, you seem very knowledgeable, you're ready to come on. You've got a long innings to play. He's played his 2020. It's now your life. You're going to be part of DSP if you're lucky. You're going to be on your own if you're lucky. Interiors, architecture, India is waiting for you. The world is waiting for you, young ladies. And to all the viewers, I would like to say thank you very much on behalf of them. Thank you on behalf of the sponsors. Thank you to Zakir Bhai,
Thanks for having us.
to Ahad. And we brought this Insta show to you. The first series is 6 shows, and the next series another 6, the next series another 6, and you're part of the first 6, and you're in the 5th of the first 6. So you imagine how important you both are, and how lucky you both are. The grace of the Lord, the grace of the universe has brought to you. Good luck to both of you.
Thank
Thank you so much for being part of us.
Thank
you.